Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. At least 13 people were killed in the Gaza Strip overnight as Israeli forces targeted a residential apartment building in Gaza City. Al Jazeera reports 3 commanders of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad were among the dead, along with their wives and children. This is a Gaza resident.
People have not been able to sleep since 4 o'clock in the morning. The children woke up to the sound of explosions and they were terrified. We have children, women, patients, and elderly people. This is not normal.
Israel's latest attack comes just a week after Israeli airstrikes rained down on the besieged Gaza Strip following rocket launches from Gaza in response to the death of Palestinian hunger striker Hadar Adnan while in an Israeli prison. Russian President Vladimir Putin has lashed out against the U.S. and other Western powers over their support for Ukraine, saying that a real war is underway against Russia. Putin made the remarks during a brief Victory Day speech in Moscow's Red Square, commemorating the 78th anniversary of the Soviet defeat of Nazi Germany in World War II.
Today, civilization is once again at a crucial turning point. A real war has once again been unleashed against our homeland, but we have fought back against international terrorism.
Overnight air raid sirens sounded across 2/3 of Ukraine as Russia launched more than a dozen missile attacks on Kyiv and other cities. Ukraine's government says at least 4 people were killed Monday. The latest attacks came as European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen arrived in Kyiv for talks with the Ukrainian president. Meanwhile, the Biden administration's announcing an additional $1.2 billion in military aid to Ukraine today for air defense systems and drones. We'll speak with Phyllis Bennis of the Institute for Policy Studies. In Sudan, fighting continues to rage in Khartoum as representatives for the national military and the paramilitary rapid support forces hold talk in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. On Monday, Sudan's military leader, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, ruled out any peace settlement unless both warring parties agree to a lasting ceasefire. At least 700 people have been killed, while over 100,000 people have fled Sudan since fighting broke out 3 weeks ago. We'll go to Sudan later in the broadcast. In Pakistan, former Prime Minister Imran Khan has been arrested in the capital, Islamabad, during a court appearance where he faces corruption charges. Security forces dragged Khan out of court and into a police vehicle. Allies denounced his arrest as an abduction. Khan was removed from the office by Parliament in April of last year. In recent months, hundreds of his supporters blocked repeated attempts by Pakistani authorities to take Khan into custody. He's denied the charges against him. In Serbia, tens of thousands of people joined protests against gun violence in the capital, Belgrade, Monday, demanding top government officials resign in the wake of the 2 mass shootings last week. 17 people were killed in the 2 attacks, including 8 school children. This is protester Slobodan Selikulic.
It is tragic that so many kids killed by their peers were buried in a short period of time. This is a low point. We are already used to what happens in Texas, but there weapons are openly purchased. And here, where do they get the firearms? It is a disaster.
In Texas, public anger is growing over the lack of information being shared by investigators as they piece together details about the 33-year-old gunman who killed 8 people and wounded 7 others during a mass shooting in the Dallas suburb of Allen Saturday. In social media posts, the gunman revealed he had a swastika and an SS symbol tattooed on his body. He frequently espoused racist views, including praise for Adolf Hitler and other mass killers. In 2008, the gunman joined the U.S. Army but was terminated 3 months later for unspecified mental health issues. Despite that, the gunman never faced a background check before legally purchasing firearms from private sellers in Texas, including the AR-15 assault rifle used in the attack. On Monday, more victims of the massacre were identified. They include Daniela and Sofia Mendoza, 2 elementary school-age sisters whose mother was shot and remains in critical condition, and Kyo Sung and Cindy Cho, a Korean-American couple who were killed along with their 3-year-old son, James. Their 6-year-old son, William, is in the hospital. According to the Gun Violence Archive, there have already been 202 mass shootings in the United States this year, on average more than 1 mass shooting per day. Elsewhere in Texas, authorities have charged the driver of the SUV who rammed into a crowd of migrants outside a shelter in the border city of Brownsville on Sunday, killing 8 people and wounding 10 others. Most of the victims were Venezuelan asylum seekers who'd spent the night at the shelter and were waiting to board a bus. This is Brownsville Police Chief Felix Salzada.
Investigation also revealed that the driver of the vehicle, later identified as George Alvarez, November 9th, 1988, had attempted to flee the scene after impact, but was held down by several individuals on scene. He has been formally charged and arraigned with 8 counts of manslaughter, 10 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
Police say Alvarez had a long history of violent crimes, including aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. They're investigating eyewitness accounts that he shouted anti-immigrant insults at his victims during Sunday's assault. Venezuela's government has called for an investigation to determine if the attack was motivated by hate. In related news, Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott has deployed another 450 National Guard soldiers to the southern border with Mexico as the Biden administration prepares to lift the Trump-era Title 42 pandemic policy Thursday. Abbott said the new units targeting asylum seekers will be stationed in the borderlands of El Paso and the Rio Grande Valley.
The Texas National Guard is loading Black Hawk helicopters and C-130s, deploying specially trained National Guard members for the Texas Tactical Border Force. They will be deployed to hot spots along the border to intercept, to repel, and to turn back migrants who are trying to enter Texas illegally.
Meanwhile, in California, dozens of asylum seekers have been stranded at the southern border near San Diego, as many hope to be allowed into the United States after the lifting of Title 42, which for 3 years has been used to expel almost 3 million migrants at the border without due process. Humanitarian aid volunteers brought food and water as asylum seekers had not eaten for days.
We have been meeting with people who've been here up to 7 days. There is a very young baby here that's been here. I know was here yesterday. There are a number of young children. They are being provided with minimal water, insufficient water. They've not been given food today and very little food yesterday.
Here in New York, jurors have begun deliberations in Donald Trump's rape and defamation civil trial brought by writer E. Jean Carroll. During closing arguments Monday, Carroll's attorney described Trump as a habitual liar and sex abuser who ruined Carroll's reputation after she accused him of raping her in a department store dressing room in the 1990s. 11 witnesses testified for the plaintiff, including 2 other women, who said Trump also sexually assaulted them. Trump had promised to disprove Carroll's allegations in court, but decided to not attend the trial. A new report finds South Carolina Democratic Congressmember Jim Clyburn secretly worked with Republicans during the 2020 redistricting process in a plan that diluted black voting strength and harmed Democrats' chances of gaining seats in Congress. That's according to ProPublica, which reports Clyburn made the deal in exchange for a redrawn map of South Carolina's 6th congressional district that ensured he could easily win re-election. A spokesperson denied the report that Clyburn facilitated Republican gerrymandering. Until January, Clyburn served as House Majority Whip, the 3rd-ranking House Democrat. His opposition to Bernie Sanders' candidacy helped propel Joe Biden to victory in 2020 presidential primary. And here in New York, 11 people were arrested at a protest Monday night demanding justice for Jordan Neely, a 30-year-old unhoused black man who was choked to death in a subway car last week by another passenger. Jordan Neely was crying out that he was hungry when he was fatally attacked on the train by a 24-year former Marine named Daniel Penny. Penny was interviewed by police detectives but was released, not arrested. Sunday night's protest follows a similar demonstration Saturday when police arrested 13 people at a sit-in protest demanding that Penny face charges. They were on the subway tracks. We'll have more on this story later in the broadcast. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.